The cube.
That little cube.
I had to find the cube. I had to find the cube.
It's called the Dwemer puzzle, bonks.
Everything was riding on this.
Do him a favor first.
I had no idea how badly I was about to be hurt.
Do it.
Asfat's directions were perfect. I left town through the south entrance. The night was dark and cold, but the glory of adventure illuminated the way, and a fiery passion for doing good works warmed my loins. The Siltstrider's magnificent form loomed over me. I admired its long legs and did my best to emulate its speed and grace. I crossed the familiar bridges just as I had this morning when I went out to collect flowers. I couldn't believe it was still the same day. I probably should have just gone to bed. At the fork in the road, I stopped to admire the Imperial Fort again for a moment, then followed the sign for Caldera per Asfat's instructions. Even though it was dark, I enjoyed looking around. The cold didn't bother me too much. My lightweight armor was a pretty good insulator, and divines know my body was hot. I took the next fork towards Molag Mar and started hoofing uphill. The view from the hill's crest was magnificent. I spent a moment stargazing. The bridge. The old Dwemer Bridge. Here it was. That meant I was close to Arkngthand. All I had to do was cross. I looked across the bridge. It was dark and I wasn't sure, but it looked like there was a man standing at the other end. This gave me pause for a moment. What would a man be doing out this late, all by himself, on an old Dwemer bridge? As I stepped onto the bridge, I realized how stupid this thought was. I mean, I'm a man, out late all by myself on an old bridge, so nothing to worry about. Maybe we can be pals. We have a lot in common. As I eagerly approached my new best friend, he saw me and shouted something I couldn't make out and started running toward me with his arms outstretched. It looked like he wanted to give me a great big hug. I smiled and continued my approach, pleased that I was having such an easy time getting along with the locals. Abruptly, the man stopped running. I stopped too, confused and alarmed. He waved his hands around in front of him, and the next thing I knew, I was being hit with a shock spell. This man wasn't my friend at all. He was my enemy. Ow, what are you doing? Why are you attacking me? Stop! He answered my pleas with more magic. I was getting angry now, but I had to focus on dodging the sparkle beams. Ha! Can't touch this! Ow! Stop! Finally, after I dodged about 100 spells, he seemed to run out of magicka. He must have been really desperate for a fight because his disability didn't stop him from rushing at me again. Does he look familiar to you? No? Just me? Okay. But I was ready. Hammer time! 2 big bonks, and he was on the ground. The fight was over, and my adrenaline subsided. I realized I was cold and sweaty. I also realized I had just killed a man for the first time in my life. Oh, fuck. I'm a murderer. Oh, why did he have to attack me? Why must I be so powerful? I was confused and upset. What could I do but continue? I had a job to do after all. I made my way across the bridge. The obvious dwarven structure became more obvious and more dwarven as I approached. But the massive structure held another surprise for me out front. For the love of Talos, what in oblivion is that? A flying dinosaur attacked me. This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death. I've fought mud crabs more fearsome than you. It wasn't too hard to kill, but my lack of skill was becoming ever more apparent. To add insult to injury, the very moment I struck down the beast, I was hit by a massive dust storm. It got all over my exposed face, in my eyes and mouth. Oh, it tastes like death. Ugh, I'm a monster. As upset as I was, I decided I had better get inside, at least until the storm died down. I just had to find the crank on a pipe that Hasfad had described. The dust in my eyes didn't help, but I was able to locate it without much effort. Oh, it's right here. Cranked. I turned the crank and heard a loud grinding noise. I looked and saw a mechanism had been activated at the entrance. I ran over to what I thought was a door and got confused. Next thing I knew, I was being trapped inside a giant circle. On the bright side, the doors were now accessible. The dust was coming through the barrier somehow, so I opened the door and went inside the ruin. The interior was dark, only dimly lit by a handful of torches and some kind of light-emitting device overhead. There were strange structures jutting out of the rock walls and technology I didn't recognize. Sounds of machinery resonated in the cavern. There was a strange, constant hum. Arkngthand. I had made it. The rest of this mission was sure to be a piece of cake. I was feeling very overwhelmed. The thing I wanted most was just to take a break. As I thought about resting, I had a disturbing realization. I heard footsteps. I couldn't go to sleep in here with other people nearby. What if they were friends with that crazy guy outside? The guy I killed. Surely they will attack me too, if not right away, then when they figure out what I did. I was going to have to confront this eventuality. Oh, might as well do this on my terms. I crept forward into Arkngthand. At the edge of the ledge, I was able to get a better view. And there he was. My fear was confirmed. There was a man in here with me. I tiptoed down the ledge, trying not to be detected by the man. It was no use. Somehow he saw me. Like a fucking maniac, he rushed toward me and pulled out a knife. This was crazy. Why was this happening? If I'd had time to think, I would have thought this couldn't get any worse. And then it did. An additional man appeared. He pulled out a knife. He sprinted like some kind of crazed rapist. He was coming right at me.
Worst day ever.
Now I had not one but two men swinging not one but two big knives at me. I was thankful for my full suit of armor and my big hammer smashy, but I was having trouble connecting any hits, and it only became more difficult as I continued to exert. Why was I such a bad fighter? Why couldn't I simply swing a weapon, hit a guy, go bonk, fall down? I very quickly thought about it. And then it hit me, like a whole kwama egg dropping into my stomach. The reason I was such a bad fighter. Wait a minute, guys, stop. I'm a mage. My face formed into a smug smirk. I couldn't help it. Suddenly, my circumstance didn't seem so dire. I stared the front man in his dumbass eyes, yawned, and an incantation fell out of my beautiful lips. Expecto Patronum. A flash of light and sparks accompanied the glorious entrance of my ally to this plane of existence. Whatever he was doing in Oblivion would have to wait because he was mine for the next 30 seconds. He knew his role. My spiritual savior immediately took action, casting curses, squirting spells, and swishing his skeletal sticks at our foes. Ghosty really turned the tide. With his help, I was able to defeat my foes. With the ultimate bonk from Smashy, the ultimate man sang his dreadful death song, and I came back to my senses. Yeah, I'm the best. Oh, fuck. Ow, 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 ow. I had been stabbed. A bunch of times. Remember those two guys with knives? Yeah, well, they stabbed me a lot. I was closer to death than I'd ever been. I realized my clothes were wet. Oh, great. Blood. Oh, what an oblivion have I gotten myself into? Guess I'll die. Sorry, Dad. I dragged my failing body back up toward the door. And collapsed. Oh, you gonna poop? You look like you're gonna poop. You're getting all red. He's gonna poop.